was in the Navy from 1942 until 1945, and he was stationed in Corpus Christi. And in 1944, at the end of the summer, he was going to be transferred to Virginia. But my mother said, somebody as talented as you needs to be in New York City. She was 7 months pregnant with me, and they hopped in the car because Dad was always supportive of whatever Mom wanted to do. And off they went to New York City. Dad took off, went into the Navy, and then, let me see. So, I'll just start from, and while Mom coped with her life in Manhattan, Dad was off sailing the war-torn seas, playing in the band, which Timothy already read to you, so I'll skip all that stuff about Truman. The Potsdam Peace Conference ended on 8/2/45, and after bringing Truman back to the U.S., Dad was honorably discharged on September 29th as musician first class. In Dad's absence, Mom managed to find jobs playing in the orchestra pits on Broadway, opening doors for him to do the same. Dad heard that Ballet Theatre was looking for musicians for a cross-country tour conducted by Max Gobern, and decided to audition. When it came time for Dad to play for Max, he chose the Violin Concerto No. 2 by Henry Wieniawski. Wieniawski, thank you. The piece he had performed for his high school graduation. Up until the last minute, Dad wasn't sure which movement he should play. The third, which was fast, or the slower second movement. He had to walk up a flight of stairs to get to the audition, and decided to let the stairs help him decide. First step, fast movement. Second, slow. The top step signaled the fast movement, and that's what he played with several mistakes. Afterwards, Max said, "Why didn't you play the slow movement? It's much easier." Dad thought his imperfect performance would prevent him from getting in, but it didn't. Max put him in the second violin section as principal. During the time that we were without him, Dad was making waves, traveling the country with Ballet Theatre, and he became fascinated by the musical scores of the ballets and managed to discover the railroad car where they were kept. Unbeknownst to Max, he was secretly taking the scores to study them in his hotel room. One day, his roommate spotted him reading them in, of all places, the bathroom, and snuck in to photograph Dad atop the throne. I have photographs. These 3 photos. Okay.
Is that the throne?
That's the throne. There's 3 photos. This one, labeled by the photographer, signaled the beginning of Dad's professional conducting career, which spanned 65 years and is still going strong. The roommate, whose name is forgotten, reported to Dad, well, maybe we should go to the second slide. This The first photograph, the photographer obviously went back afterwards and put the score on the toilet and called that the stage. This he called the score, and then the next one is the show. Okay? Okay, so the roommate, whose name is forgotten, reported to Max that Dad was checking out the scores. And the next time he saw him, he said, "Ed, I hear you've been reading the scores. Would you like to conduct a ballet?" Dad didn't know how Max knew that, but he gladly accepted the offer. "When's your birthday?" Max asked him. "February 1st, Dad's response. A quick check of the calendar, and Max noted they would be in Denver on February 1st, and that would be the date of Dad's conducting debut. Max gave Dad a quick 10-minute conducting lesson and then turned him loose. Dad reported, Max never checked on me to see if I knew any goddamn thing at all about conducting. But during the time after he made that offer, I made sure I knew everything that was going on. Does that sound like my father? The dancers, entrances, exits, all of it. There was a dancer named John Kreitza, and he used to leap up in the air, and to conduct in a regular beat wouldn't make sense. So you had to make the orchestra come in when his foot touched the floor. When February 1st rolled around, Max said nothing, so Dad assumed he'd forgotten, and was on his way to the pit with his violin. Max stopped him, saying, "Hey, why do you have your violin? You're conducting tonight." So Dad grabbed a baton and headed for the show, and Max took off, only to be stopped by the stage manager, who yelled, "Max, where are you going?" He responded, "Ed's conducting tonight," to which she cried in a panic, "Who the hell is Ed?" The ballet dancers also wondered who the stranger was in front of them, but everybody breathed a sigh of relief that the show went without a hitch, prompting a big hug from the stage manager afterwards. During Dad's second tour with the ballet, he noticed that one stop was going to be Pittsburgh, so he got seats for Grandma and Grandpa in the center first row of the balcony. Dad was then listed on the programs as one of the conductors, since after his premiere in Denver, Max was confident he knew what he was doing. Now, there was an ancient ritual, starting from when Dad was 2, that he and his father would roll up a newspaper and conduct to whatever music they were listening to. So, when Dad went on stage after the show to take his bow with the dancers, he brought a program with him to roll as a signal to Grandpa, who did the same. The dancers wondered what on earth he was doing, which he explained to them later. He wanted to share that special moment with his father to remind him of their ancient ritual. After the ballet tours ended in 1948, Max said he was opening a new Broadway show, Where's Charlie? And he was going to conduct it for 2 weeks, and he wanted Dad to take it over after that. This lucky break became the beginning of Dad's Broadway conducting career. In addition to Where's Charlie, the 8 Broadway shows that Dad conducted from 1948 to 1964 were Two on the Aisle, Fanny, Bless You All, Wonderful Town, Tovarich, My Fair Lady, and Camelot, which he took on the road in 1963. His little girl was very happy because Daddy was back home, where he stayed from then on, until, I was gone by 1963. Nevertheless, the big-time conducting world came up with tempting offers to lure him away. I'm convinced Dad could have been a world-class conductor, but by some miracle, that's not what he wanted to do. He felt family and community were more important. Bravo, Daddy. Now, I just wanted to add one other thing. Alan Rosenthal, who was here, but he left, I wanted to read this while he was here, was a 12-year-old conductor in 1962 who took the baton and conducted a symphony that he had written. He's now a jazz pianist in New York City. But I recently connected with him just before the book was finished, so I was able to include what he said. And it's very short, but I just wanted to read it to you. He says, I really can't find enough words to praise Ed Simons and to thank him for the contributions he made to my life while I was growing up in Rockland County. He was always so encouraging and intelligent as a musical mentor and so responsive. I don't think I ever encountered an adult who treated children so completely as other people, not some subservient subclass. Of course, he was a great violinist and a wonderful conductor too. As he himself says, music courses through his veins. And then he said this amazing thing. It's as though he isn't a person who decided to become a musician. He's music who decided to be a person.